lost because they really want to memory hole that. We're not supposed to talk about that. But that's
Shortly after the first failed assassination attempt on Donald Trump, Alex Jones was basically calling that there was going to be a second attempt. Well, when the second attempt occurred this past weekend, Jones had already had a bit of a response to it.
With Russia, after Biden authorized NATO to start using U.S.-made heavy missiles to start bombing Russia next week. No, they just tried to kill Trump again. They had their cover story that it was gang crossfire, but Trump wasn't killed. But the media all put it out the second the news broke, even though the Secret Service and others were saying, no, the guy was shooting at Trump. They had to tackle him and return fire, and thank God he didn't kill him. That's twice this has happened. God's hand is on President Trump. Top Democrats have said they're not going to accept the Trump win. They're going to have civil war conditions. We're at war with the deep state. They're at war with us. They've dissolved our borders. They're destroying our dollar. We're under globalist attack. They're allied with the communist Chinese and others. And Trump has to take this very seriously. I told him they'll try to kill him on his golf course or blow up his plane. Trump has to address America and has to understand that if he doesn't come out and point out the deep states behind this, clearly in Butler and now, it's overwhelmingly clear, just from the media having their pre-scripted information both times in Pennsylvania and now in Florida, that's the tell right there. They're going to keep trying over and over again until they succeed. We got to get even more hardcore and admit where we are. All right, CNN, others have now confirmed what the Secret Service said. The guy tried to kill Trump. He ran.
It looks to me like Alex Jones was right again. Now, guys, really quick, before we get started, I want you guys to know right now that I'm not some Alex Jones, how do I say, idolizer or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I actually have some problems with Alex, but here's the thing, though. I have a philosophy, which is even a broken clock is right twice a day, and when somebody gets it right, it would be a good idea to actually look at it. I also believe that even bad information, BS information, needs to be kept. It needs to be archived so that way people can look at it, and also at the same time, you can also utilize bad information to hit a person later on with their track record to say, hey, look, this is what you were posting then. Okay, and of course, if they get it right, they get it right. But oftentimes, though, you still want to keep said information just in case. Now, guys, before we get started, I want you to know there's going to be a small section at the very end of the video where I'm going to detail how the week is going to go because I'm not going to be here tomorrow. There is going to be a video out tomorrow. And, of course, there's also going to be 1 to 2 videos out between Friday and Saturday. There may be more, I'm not sure, but I'm not going to be around tomorrow to collect stories or collect data. So just want to give you guys a bit of a heads up, but we'll discuss that more towards the end. Now, before we get started on this, and before we talk about the purpose of this blatant censorship or the purpose of this blatant rhetoric, make sure you guys go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you guys are new here. Let's go ahead and make the content. Let's go ahead and make the channel grow itself. Let's go ahead and reach a much larger audience, and let us go ahead and get into it. So the topic that's being discussed was kicked around the other day on Sarah Gonzalez's show. And, of course, a lot of this is going to come for this. And, of course, it wasn't just Sarah Gonzalez. It was also John Doyle, the guy who has the show Heck Off Comedy, or that's what he calls it. And, of course, this topic of rhetoric and censorship and stuff did, in fact, get brought up here, and here's a small slice of it.
That's very discordant on purpose, so they know that people, A, can't differentiate subconsciously from aliens killing people in an invasion on a Netflix show versus real gang members breaking your neighbor's house.
Yeah.
So people see Saw and all these, hundreds of thousands of simulated murders and these shoot 'em up video games and things. And I'm not saying censor them, just know the effect, to where now you're desensitized to real life stuff when it happens. So that's why my grandfather was a highly decorated combat veteran, saw a lot of stuff in World War II. And even when he would take my dad and younger brother to movies, and if there was a bunch of blood or something, he'd say, get up, we're going out of here. And it wasn't because he was a wimp. He'd seen real stuff. It wasn't a joke to him. So he didn't like violence. He liked to go watch like Dumbo, Disney, because he was tough. Yeah. But now we've all seen so much death and destruction. We hear about dead babies, 70 million abortions. Yeah, keep babies alive, selling their organs, big deal. There's a desensitization, and the establishment's even worse in them. And so that's what's happened with Trump.
This, by the way, also leads to unreal deflections. I mean, check this clip right here out yesterday from Karine Jean-Pierre.
Allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again. And you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it, because American people are watching. And to say that from an administration who has consistently condemned political violence, from an administration where the president called the former president and was thankful, grateful that he was okay, from an administration who has called out January 6th, called out the attack of Paul Pelosi, called out and said we need to lower the temperature after the Butler incident, and now for you to make that kind of comment in your question, because your question involved a comment and a statement. And, it is, that is also incredibly
Political
dangerous.
opposition has been nailed once this year. The FBI had to come out and say that it was actually real, because these people obviously live in a fantasy world where they believe everything is scripted. Or some of them do. Good portion of them just want him killed. And of course, you've also got these other people out here that you have to satisfy, because they're like babies. You have to actually feed them everything they have, because they're just bots. But still, at the same time, though, look at how the hell she deflected that. Now, this right here does also denote that there are people out there who have to await for the official narrative from the media, meaning they have to await for the official thing. And they don't seem to use their eyes and their ears and their own common sense, which, by the way, will probably be a video in the near future. I think I've alluded to somebody on this platform who has a very, very big platform, especially on Twitter, as if to say that they are people who, quite frankly, rely heavily on what the state says before they even use their own intuition. We have that intuition, okay? We have the ability to think for ourselves. We have the ability to talk. We have the ability to research, all that type of stuff there. But if you're somebody who's literally waiting on the state to tell you what to do, you've got a serious problem. The idea, of course, is to desensitize people, is designed to put them in a state to where this right here is the actual everyday norm, when in reality, it's not the everyday norm. However, the thing that you got to understand is that this desensitization tends to work on one side a lot more than others. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean by desensitization. You see people out here putting up Facebook, Twitter posts, stuff like, I think that woman that I posted about the other day in one of my previous videos about, I think it was one of the Anna Kasparian videos that I did about MSNBC, MSDNC, oftentimes we call it, talking about Trump's assassination, the first one being staged, because obviously they put that information out there. They put all kinds of tweets out there saying this crap is staged. Now, only one type of person would actually put that out there, and it would be somebody who's, quite frankly, a loon, or somebody who's been desensitized too much to the point to where they believe everything is scripted. That right there still obviously being somebody who is, in fact, how do I say, loony. There are channels that exist on this platform, for example, let me give you another example, that suggest that the NFL is rigged. I have stated before that, yeah, this game right here is rigged or something like that there, but I don't really truly believe that it's actually rigged or scripted. I believe what it is overall manipulated, which to a certain degree is, in fact, rigging. Brian Toohey talked about this in his video, The Fix is In, then The Fix is Still In. Of course, I think he did a third video. Made a lot of very good points, but I don't believe everything is scripted. Some people believe that we're living in a simulation. Some people believe we're living in an alternate reality. However, the point is this right here. A lot of these people don't seem to understand that you're not living in an alternate reality. This right here is really and truly real. It just so happens to be that that real life you're living in has some evilness in it. It's kind of sort of a cope when you really and truly think about it. But still, though, the goal of our mainstream media is to try to get people to believe that this right here is not real. But yet it's also very, very strange, too, because they want to say that Donald Trump is a real threat at the same time. So therefore, it's obviously confusing, and therefore it confuses the masses. Now, Yuri Bezmenov talked about this in his series, which, by the way, we'll probably visit sometime next year. But still, at the same time, that's what the media is trying to do. They're trying to desensitize the overall audience, which happens to be the voter base. And there are people on the right, whether they know it or not, that take part in this blackpilling process, that take part in the desensitization process. I myself have had to catch myself from time to time saying stuff like, well, maybe it would be a good idea if these people continue to remove themselves from the gene pool. Not thinking about the fact that innocent children, or innocent potential children, babies, of course, are being aborted. However, when you actually look at it, you can get away with saying something like that there if it's just the liberal beta males getting vasectomies, so that way they can't get pregnant. And, of course, liberal women becoming more and more conservative over time. They have a tendency to do that once they get married. Still, though, at the same time, though, the desensitization does, in fact, seem extremely real, and you're starting to see this on the left, and everything these people are doing is, in fact, a cope for what's going on. But still, though, you guys can obviously tell the media is, in fact, having a bit of an effect. But let's keep going.
There's a bullet grazing his ear. One person dies. 2 are injured. There's a total clear stand down. The Secret Service lies to Congress. I mean, they did it. The Secret Service didn't shoot the shooter. One of the cops did. They did this. They were planning to kill him. Not all the Secret Service, but from the top down. And so even that day for like 7-8 hours, they were like, oh, they heard some popping noises. He fell down. Reuters, others. And they wouldn't even call it an assassination for about a week. And so they wanted to just brush that along, move over, don't worry about it, and just move on. And so that even boosted him more and made him so iconic, they hope it goes away. But the problem is that the corporate media trying to, and the FBI director is saying, well, we're not even sure a bullet hit him. And the day later, oh, actually it did, grazed him because it was coming towards him. He didn't hit something and then a fragment hit him. It's that those of us as populist Christians, conservatives that say we're dialed in, I catch myself even every day not having urgency. They're going to try it again. They're desperate. I said the 2 days after it happened, I said they're going to blame Iran. And when you see them pre-program that, they're going to try to do it again. The 3 days after that, they go, yeah, Iran's going to try to kill Trump. Oh, we busted plots to kill Trump. Could Trump make the Secret Service stand down?
Obviously, Trump can't get the Secret Service to stand down, or at least the Secret Service as a whole. The Secret Service obviously has a job, and they're not being very good at it. And, of course, you could argue that's intentional negligence. I mean, this is like, what, the second failed attempt on former President Trump? Also, to go on top of this, there was an incident involving his plane, which kind of, let's just say, it was his plane flight on the way to Montana to campaign for Tim Sheehy. Yeah, that incident right there did not look very good either. It definitely seemed a little bit sus. However, like I said before, you've got liberals out there coping with this, almost acting as if to say it's not real when obviously it is real life. Now, there are some out there, and of course, it's still a slightly high percentage to a certain degree. I say some, even though it's a high percentage, because it's a high percentage for the overall pot, that do, in fact, want this man eliminated. There's also some people on the right who also want this man eliminated as well. But still, though, for the most part, the people that they are manipulating believe this situation to be nothing more than a great big giant show, nothing more than a great big giant game. One of the worst actors here on this platform is Short Fat Otaku, who used to make some very, very good content. But if you look at Dev's Twitter profile, you'll see that Dev loves to play both sides of the aisle. I mean, this guy, like 2 days ago, was complaining because J.D. Vance took his wife, Usha, to a butcher shop in Las Vegas. The reason being was retail politics, and because she's Indian and because she's vegan, he felt it would hurt her sensibilities. When there's actually a pretty good counter to that this idiot did not think about, which is maybe she's a good wife, maybe she's traditional, maybe she understands the point of going there, maybe she understands the point of presidential campaigns, maybe she understands the point of retail politics. That's what I'm saying. That's where these people are gone. They don't think about things. There's some of that there. And, of course, there's also the pot of people who know what the hell is going on and really truly don't care. People like this right here are just seeking entertainment, rage clicks, and rage bait. And it's best that you just simply just walk away from these people. But, of course, we've also got more to cover.
And wandering around with his rangefinder and then on top of the roof for 26 minutes and about 7 minutes, people saying he's got a gun. I mean, my God, there's cameras behind Trump and you can see the guy with your eye. For folks that don't know about cameras, normally, at 150 yards, you couldn't even see the guy. He's right there on the camera crawling along. This was insane. Total stand down on every level. They had to go through incredible work to do this. They wouldn't, for the first time, let the Secret Service, local police sync their radios. That one event, they hadn't covered for a year at CNN, any of his rallies. That was all covered. They were going to get the Kennedy head blow off situation to try to create civil unrest, blame it on right-wingers, and really bring in martial law. And we've had Jamie Raskin, all these Democrats, will have civil war conditions when he wins. They're preparing big stuff. So we're 54 days out. Then there's a 76 days when he's before the inauguration, when they're really going to...
Now, gang, this part about civil unrest will come up a little bit later on in the video. As a matter of fact, it's towards the end because it also shows you the false reality that these people, or at least left-wing voters, are living in, the deranged ones. We'll get to that here in a second, but I want to play this next clip, or this next set of clips, before we get to that. It's going to be a little bit longer. I had to edit the two together. This right here is Alex Jones, then followed up by John Doyle to kind of give you an example of what to expect out of these people going forward.
To pull the stops out. And they've had John Podesta in the New York Times in 2020, and then now, oh, we're not going to accept him if he wins. But if he questions it, oh, he's a bad terrorist.
Right.
So, and of course, J6 is worse than Pearl Harbor and 9/11. This is preposterous. So we're in the most dangerous time ever. And people that aren't awake are kind of punch drunk and don't even know what's happening. Those of us that are awake, though, live so close to the tyranny that we become kind of comfortable with it. We've got to get back in our minds and be frosty and have urgency here, because this is the most important time in human history right now.
Yeah. And, okay, and you know what? To that point, I feel like I don't want people to forget. They want to memory hole it. I don't want people to forget. So I want to play this video as many freaking times as possible of that moment of Donald Trump getting your former president getting shot.
Oh, yeah. And to Alex's point about just how desensitized we are, it's especially dangerous because it's not just that we're totally desensitized, but also the media has also programmed them to be like completely rabid towards anyone to the right of like Hillary Clinton. So I forgot which day of the week that happened, but the following Monday, if you work
Saturday.
like a normal job, well, maybe not the Monday after, maybe the Thursday after, if you'd gone to work, you would have seen like your liberal coworkers drinking out of coffee mugs with that image of Trump's head like exploding like, you know, a watermelon. Right. It'd be totally merchandised. They would wear it. They think it's the cutest thing ever. If any of us ever posted something lamenting that happening on Twitter, they would be replying with that footage in the, you know, the replies to it. They'd be thinking it's like the funniest thing ever. It wouldn't have been some Zapruder tape from 50 yards away. That would have been 4K, high quality. Oh, you thought you had a representative? Well, look at him now, LOL. And it's like, okay.
It's all about them pissing on us. That's what drag queen story time is with the convicted pedophiles. That's what all of it is them just letting us know that you're done. We've broken your will, because they think we're like them. They think being dominated like their bosses do them would make us give up. No, it's doing the opposite, and that's where they miscalculate.
Right. Do you think...
So obviously, as you guys can see, the purpose behind this is to desensitize their side. Now, why in the world would they want to desensitize their side? Well, think about this really quick. And of course, let me go ahead and give you one more example of a dehumanization tactic that you oftentimes see on MSNBC. Eli Mistal, once again.
He does is despicable.
The reason why it doesn't end his career is because his supporters are just as despicable. All right. Like Trump's whole thing, he's a narcissist, right? And so his whole thing is to have a complete lack of compassion and empathy for everybody else. It's all about him. That's why he lies about 9/11. It's all about him, me. He's probably.
And then you got Miss Piggy herself also demanding that Trump himself be covered much, much harder than what he already is.
Back in 2016. But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda. And whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence because than boosting Trump.
The purpose behind all this is to dehumanize people that you've always had an issue with or a grudge with. Here's the real truth of the situation. Everything, of course, in this world is, in fact, anecdotal. When people talk about statistics versus anecdotes, that's an anecdote, that's an anecdote, that's an anecdote. People don't seem to realize that statistics are, in fact, anecdotes. They're personal experiences that people have recorded. The thing that you got to understand is that when you look at your neighbor or you actually look at a person that you work with every day, they may disagree with you politically. They probably know your politics and don't really care. They don't want to discuss it. It may be somebody who's more classically liberal. They're voting for Kamala Harris regardless, but yet they like you as a person even though you're a conservative. Some of these people right here are not going to be as easily broken by the media, but the idea is to create some form of paranoia, and also at the same time, they do this through these tactics that they use to demonize anybody and everybody who's a conservative. I mean, listen to Eli Mistal basically say anybody who votes for Trump is a terrible human being. They're the problem. This, by the way, was the first thing I saw on my Facebook feed from one member of my family the minute the election was over. The problem is not Donald Trump, the problem is Trump supporters. He got reeled in pretty damn quick, and he was reminded of where he came from, but still, obviously, the person still has his own issues. He's gotten better over time, but still, I'm pretty sure you guys know what I mean. The idea, of course, is to demonize people. The idea, of course, is to humanize them. The idea is to create some level of paranoia. However, this right here is where the delusion itself and the civil unrest question really and truly can be answered with good old-fashioned common sense, because this right here is the whole point of the video. Was to show you the idea was to create a false reality for these people to live in, so that way these people could, in fact, feel some form of empowerment when obviously what they're really doing at the end of the day is preying on people with mental issues. Back in 2023, Tim Pool, Mr. Civil War himself, did a bit on the left and mental illness. It was only about a 20-some-odd minute segment. I'll try to find it. I'll try to link it in the description box, but several studies that actually showed this, that people on the left had either one or multiple mental disorders, where people on the right, mental disorders was actually a little bit less common. People in the middle, same thing. There was also another bit showing 8 separate studies showing that people on the left tend to be less attractive, whereas people on the right and people who are more moderate typically tend to have a bit of a halo effect. They typically tend to be a little bit more attractive, happier, all that type of stuff there. Which, by the way, could also explain the mental illness portion. But still, The fact of the matter is this right here. The people that they're preying on are people who already live in some form of false sense of reality. A lot of these people, by the way, are people who just stay inside their house and play video games all day. By the way, I want to go ahead and say this one more time about video games. I am not against gaming. I'm not against video games at all. Hell, I still play them from time to time. However, you have to know at some point in time that there is this thing called moderation, and that right there is what you need to be practicing rather than playing it all day, because guess what? Playing it all day and night kind of desensitizes you to reality, which is the point. I think it was What If Altruist did a video a while back on this, talking about a possible CW between right-wingers and left-wingers and how it is that one side would be carrying guns and the other side would be carrying swords. By the way, YouTube, this is not an advocation. But of course, when these people say it will be Civil War standards, Civil War conditions, stuff like that there, it's mostly hyperbolic to get their voters in a bit of a frenzy, which makes me wonder exactly how demonic this is, because these people really and truly don't stand a chance. The aristocratic utensil spoon put up a tweet yesterday that I responded to, where he's basically making fun of and mocking the idea of left-wingers going to war with right-wingers. I responded to that tweet by simply saying that if a CW was to occur in America, I want you to basically understand that the vast majority of left-wingers in this country live in cities on the coast, of which, by the way, you have to take bridges and special routes to get there, interstate, this, that, and the other. If you were just simply to close the roads and cut the food supply off for 3 to 5 days, these people would actually start eating each other. War's basically over. Nobody conservative harmed at all. No shot fired. That's pretty much it. And these people probably would begin to see that, hey, look, you know, maybe these people on the right, we kind of sort of need them to survive. I don't fully believe that last part, but I'm pretty sure you guys get the point that there are obviously some people that would have a reality check, and it may even change their beliefs to a certain degree, because it's almost like people leaving the cult after a while. They realize that everything that the cult was preaching was absolutely wrong. Which, of course, I can already hear some left-winger in the comment section calling conservatives occultists, but I don't think that that's the case at all, because we can criticize the orange man, which, of course, I do, and still say I'm going to vote for him, which is something that the left, quite frankly, cannot do, or at least the NPC bot left that lives inside the city that just simply watches MSDNC all day cannot do. The purpose behind what they're doing is obviously to desensitize their side of the aisle and create a sort of false reality for them to feel somewhat emboldened. But that emboldening nature will only lead to them eating themselves in the future. We'll probably do a video on that there in the near future. Now, guys, I did tell you that it was going to be a slight bit of a schedule release today. This is what's going to happen. The video that I have scheduled on Anna Kasparian checking Jink on self-defense and guns, especially home defense, that video will be coming out tomorrow right around lunch. I'm not going to be here. But, of course, I'm going to come back to that Pierce Morgan interview with Andrew Roberts talking about Daryl Cooper for 2 more takes, because there was an extremely interesting exchange between Dave Smith and Seth Dillon at the Babylon Bee that I kind of want to go through. It may be 2 parts, but it also gives me an opportunity to talk about history again, and quite frankly, I'm beginning to enjoy it. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.